Welcome everybody. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you how to use JavaScript's fetch API. So without any more delay, let's get straight into it. As you can see, I have my usual layout. On my left hand side, I have VS Code, weapon of destruction. On my right hand side, I have my browser. So, and you will also notice that I've already set up Vite. And if you don't know how to do that, you can head up to the Vite website, Vite, whatever you want to call it. I call it Vite. So you can install it with npm chan or with pnpm. I don't want to insult your intelligence, so I will leave this part up to you. It should be very easy for you to get that up and running. And after that, you can join me in this part where I'll be showing you how to use the Fetch API. So we have a lot of things set up right here. If you go to the main.js on the default app you get with JavaScript when you set up with Vite, you see a lot of these things. But what we're going to do is we're going to ignore all of this and we're just going to really focus on the main.js. We won't delete anything, though they can be distractions, but we'll leave them and I'll put a comment here and I'll write fetch API et. I can't spell fetch, FETCH API tut or tutorial or something. So we'll leave that like that and then open our console. We'll be using the console to check our results today. And we'll also be using one other tool called the JSON placeholder right here. It gives us free fake API for testing and prototyping. So this will be also very useful. So let's get back and we'll be using that. So um, yeah, so what is the fetch API used for? So the fetch API is used for fetching data or a resource from the server, right? So it returns a promise that resolves to a response object. So the fetch API is basically what we used to use to connect our front end to the back end or to any other server, to any third-party API, anything. We use the fetch API, the native fetch API. We have other tools like Axios or wherever, but fetch API is what is natively offered by JavaScript, and we don't need to do any installation, nothing. It just comes with JavaScript, and I believe it comes to Node.js as well. The current version of Node. I'm not sure about that, but whatever. Um, so let's see how we can use the fetch API. So the first example I'm going to be giving you is this. When we want to use the fetch API, we just fetch API we can just write fetch FETCH, and in here we can pop in the API route. As you can see here, I have fetch, then in brackets, then in that bracket I have this JSON placeholder. So this is I'm getting this from JSON placeholder, which is the free fake API that we're using. So this way we'll be able to get data. We're going to get to dos. I don't want just one, I want all the to dos, so I'm leaving it like this. What we can now do now is because the fetch returns a promise, we can do dot then. That was two there. I can write dot then, and after I write dot then, I can do this. Let me break it into different lines. As you can see, I have dot then. Let me full my screen so you can see it. I have dot then, and then I have the response. This is the what I put in this. Let me go back. I have my code whisper auto completing code for me, which is kind of troublesome here. But I'm going to try to do it without distraction of code whisper. So what in this then what we can have here is a callback function that we can then return. We can pop here in this parameter what is the response that we get, res, and here we can just do response dot json. So we get the response here and we return it. Right? What we can then do, because by using fetch API, we have to do something else. Third step, which is basically what code whisper won't let me rest about. This keeps on auto completing for me. I should actually have turned it off before this tutorial, but we manage. What we can now do now is log this to the console the log data. So let's see what our output is. So if you notice, we have the fetch, which by default, if you don't give it any other thing, to do a get. This will do a get, right? So fetch this, then then if you can, you see the word being used, then that means after it has been done, after you fetched the resources, rest.json, that we have to do this with fetch API. It asks us, we don't have to do this, but we fetch this, we have to do this. Then after we do this, I can come here and say, after you've done this, take this rest.json, which is what you return, and then log it, what would be the data now, and then log it to the console. So let's see. As you can see, I have to dos right here that JSON placeholder provides for us, and the data, everything are logged out right here. So as you can see, it's pretty much as easy as that. Fetch, then the response, we convert, let me use the word convert it to JSON, and then we log out that converted response, which we name data, to the console. But what other better way of doing this is with using async and await, because the fetch was built on top of async and await. So that is the best format of using it. How we can use that is this. I can have a const fetch to dos, which would be a function, and this function would be an async function. Right, good. So in this async function, what we want to have is response. Response, we can easily just put the await and put our fetch right here. As you can see, it's far neater because it's a function and we don't have to be going through this then. We just have the const res await and fetch this, right? So the async, putting async here allows us to use this await here. If you didn't put this async here, we won't be able to use this await. So async is kind of necessary, but it doesn't really actually does anything. It just lets JavaScript or the browser know that fetch to dos is an asynchronous function and it returns a promise. So we can await this. Then when we await that, let me rename this to data. No, leave it as response. Then when we await that, we can actually have another one, const data, right? Data would be the response. When we've gotten the response, I'll say await. When we've gotten the response dot JSON. So as you remember, we have to convert it to JSON because that's kind of how fetch API works. We always have to convert it to JSON. So now I've converted this res to JSON here and we have it as data. What we can do here is console.log data, and if I log this fetch to dos and run it right here, what we should get is kind of pretty much similar. It's the exact same thing as this actually. So if I check, as you can see, we have it twice. Now if I remove this first one and I refresh this, you see it takes some time because it doesn't happen immediately because it's a promise, right? It goes there to fetch the data and then comes back and logs it. It's not instantaneous. You understand? It's asynchronous. So as you can see, it's basically the same thing, but this using a single week is a bit neater, and it gets a lot neater if we're having that dot then, and it's looking terrible. But with this fetch, we can add this one liners, basically one liners. One line. You don't have to be keep chaining it, before you know it looks very very ugly in your code. So I hope you guys understood this tutorial. If you have any question, leave it in the comment section. I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you and see you in the next one.